Okay. Well, welcome. The Bernstein Institute for Human Rights and the New York University Law Review welcome you to our community keynote event. This event kicks off our Critical Legal Empowerment Strategies for a Community-Built Justice Symposium that begins tomorrow. My name is Sarah Miller, and I'm one of the managing editors for the Law Review. We're excited for this event because of the awesome performers. And additionally, we're particularly excited for this event kicking off our symposium because law schools and law reviews in particular too often value specific voices and forms of knowledge creation, but art and music are integral forms of radical expression necessary for a liberatory future. The contribution of art and community is beyond the power of traditional legal scholarship.
Thanks, Sarah. My name is Arshit. I'm the editor-in-chief of the NYU Law Review, and I just want to echo our excitement for tonight's event and the symposium to come, and just our immense gratitude to everyone who's participated in making this symposium come to life, and especially all of our performers tonight. So without further ado, I will pass it on to our first MC for the evening, Tyler Walton.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Arjit and Sarah. My name's Tyler, and myself and my colleague Sukti Datal will be emceeing tonight. We both work with the Bernstein Institute for Human Rights, which is the only academic center in the United States that's dedicated to legal empowerment. This whole symposium is about legal empowerment, and that's both an ethos and a methodology. It believes that the only way to achieve justice is through activation and transformation of legal systems by the people experiencing injustice. And we believe that's accomplished through democratized legal processes, one where people and communities are provided the resources and tools to know, use, and then shape and transform the laws that impact their everyday lives. So this symposium is going to interrogate legal empowerment. We're excited that there's a full 2 days of programming, and we're really excited to launch it with a community keynote. Like Sarah mentioned, the whole idea behind the symposium is that knowledge is power, and that knowledge production in legal academia is specifically leaving out different types of knowledge production. So we're really excited to have some incredible advocates and knowledge producers here tonight and performing for you. And we're also really excited that this conversation will continue throughout the 2 days of the symposium, and hopefully there and after as well. So up first on our program tonight is going to be Alejo Rodriguez. He's the Director of Collaborative Advocacy at Zealous and a Catalyst for Change Fellow at the Center for Institutional and Social Change. He's an advocate, a teacher, a poet, and a dear friend of mine that I've been able to work with for almost 2 years now. And we're really excited. We're excited that Alejo is here tonight as a poet. He's also been an integral part of an advisory panel of advocates and practitioners and movement leaders that have come together over the past year to really make sure that this conference and this symposium is a different type of space than one that could just be created by lawyers or typical members of a law school community. So we're really excited that his is going to be one of the first voices you hear tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Alejo, and he's going to share 2 pieces with you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, Tyler, and everyone here with Namity and Critical Legal Empowerment. So I want to share a couple of poems with you. In addition to all that Tyler had mentioned that I've been able to accomplish in the last few years, I've also served 32 years in prison. And so these poems I want to share with you were actually written while I was on the inside, and in hopes to want to bring attention to our humanity, that the humanity that exists in these conditions, because oftentimes we get caught up considering about the horrors and the trauma and all those things that are real and exist, but sometimes we forget about the everyday conditions and how people still hold on to hope. So hopefully these poems can speak to those. The first poem is entitled Sing Sing Sits Up the River. How alive the rhythm that waves move at as though they're breathing in and out like seasons change. Nature itself inhales and exhales a spirit that air too breathes, almost human and kind. How the wind comes to visit me, blowing past curls of razor wire, rows and rows of it, razors wrapped around electronically juiced fences intended to shock until they kill, yet the wind still not has abandoned our visits, even after having been cut 1,000,000 times. The wind bleeds, we become blood brothers. How humane and touching that the bars feel the openness from the outside, the space beyond the other side from where I stand, upstate New York, where underground railroads once ran and ran, cold, tired, and hungry in the night, but can't stop. Got to keep moving, got to get to a Black freedom where they now build prisons in the hills. How thoughtful. How sparrows still remind me that there's a spirit free and that it breathes, even where winters are the coldest and holidays are just a thing from another life. Even in this cold that burns, the sun still kisses my forehead as if I was as pure as a day breastfeeding in my mother's arms. How unimaginable. How freedom comes alive, touching the sun between bars. And that poem was written after I had spent some time trying to write a lot more poetry, wanted to be more artistic in my observation, but I started realizing that a lot of my poems were coming out angry, frustrated, pissed off. And I really needed some time to just put those real triggers, and they were real triggers, aside and just create an open space for me to assess me, maybe, my space, my condition. And it's something that when we start getting caught up in our advocacy and our laws, that sometimes we get too caught up and our passions get so committed that we forget about the softness and the messiness of things, where we really grow from. So that's where that poem came out of. I'd like to also share now with you a really brief story before the entry poem, because there's another aspect, this storytelling that often happens inside prisons. But first, before I get there, there's a very, it's a proverb, very parable, I should say. No introduction, I'll just dump in. Once there was a monk who passed away and he went to heaven. And when he went to heaven, he noticed this very large, super large table with all the delicious foods anyone could ever want to eat. And everybody in heaven was surrounded around this table. And they all had these very long chopsticks. And they picked up the food that they wanted to eat most and they shared it with someone else. And this is how they were living in heaven, the sharing of this food at this big table. And there was joy, and there was community, and there was laughter. And so the monk said, after all these years, and I'm so glad to be here, but is it possible I could see what that other place, hell, was about? And the angel said, sure, let's go. And he takes him to hell. I don't know if it's up, down, that's irrelevant. And ironically, the same big space, a lot of food, a lot of delicious food, a lot of people, long chopsticks. And yet, in this case, the people were not feeding each other. The long chopsticks, they were using the chopsticks to try to feed themselves, but the chopsticks were too long for them to put in their own mouths. And so they were tortured. Their selfishness, their focus on their own personal gain is what caused them their own hell. The man said, oh God, please send me back up. And he went up, down, wherever else was to, and he went back to heaven, to community. And I like to think that from that story, there's so many ways we can look at this feeding, this nurturing, but I also like to think how stories nurture us. And so I like to share this story that transpired in my mind. It transpired, but it occurred while I was also in prison. The poem is entitled, "Ignorance is No Excuse for the Law." From the cell 10 feet across from mine, he told of how he played chicken for money. He played in bars where no other kids his age was allowed to go, but he went. And the scars of cigar burns between his knuckles testified that he won more money than he lost. Ever smelled burning skin, he would ask? It's enough to make you sick. And his stories were never tired, and I was never tired of hearing them. After all, living on death row, it's only fitting to allow a man to tell a story that wasn't allowed by law to be told in court, where the formalities were too complex for that 16-year-old boy to comprehend, and it seems the law really didn't understand him either. But one thing was for sure, he wasn't going to cry. His father taught him that. His mother would cry for him, though. Cried all the tears that were held back watching him grow, watching his father make a man out of him, a man before the child was able to be a boy. Mom never really understood, he told me. You know, male bonding, the rites of passage to become a real man. And every part of that real man's bleeding heart was on death row, spilling its guts, but still holding on to proud memories of how he threw up on his first beer. He was 9 and it was his father who made him drink it. That'll make a man out of you, boy, his father said. And how when he was 7, his father made him stay and fight, or you'll get a whipping when you get home, Dad said. It didn't matter that the other kid was twice his age and size. You never run from a fight, boy. And when he got home, he got the whipping anyway because he lost. But by the time he was 14, grown men were self-conscious of this kid in his presence. I don't want to make it sound as though the old man was a drill sergeant, he told me. We used to do regular father and son shit too. Took him to baseball games and got him his first mini bike. And they used to go camping a lot too. But why did Dad always forget his sleeping bag, he would ask? And why did he have to share mine? His hands, the only visible part through the porthole of the cell door where they serve our food, would pound the air with his words as if they were the ones doing the talking. But the scar burns between his knuckles made it look like the skin was crying every time the talking stopped. He then would excuse himself because he had to clean himself, a ritual he performed 3 times a day as though it were an act of repentance. When they came for him, he asked the preacher if the preacher would clean him afterwards in case he shitted on himself. But he promised, I'll try the best to hold it, all right? And when he got that final call, he walked out of his cell seeming more afraid to leave the cell than he did facing death. Back then, I never understood when he told me, I died when I was born, but now I'm next. And so I share this poem, even though it has a very morbid ending. It's not an uplifting ending at all. But I would like to call our attentions to this notion that the upliftment is in the sharing. Even in places like death row, even in the darkest places that we find ourselves, we are all still human beings. We thrive and we support each other in the same ways inside as we do outside. And oftentimes when we hear about advocacy and legal empowerment and other ways that people really want to do well, we're not listening to the people. We're not hearing their stories. We're not listening to what they're determined to be freedom and move at their pace. So I just want to bring this to our attention, kind of like give us a grounding for the evening. I know there's a lot of artistry going on, but there's a lot of advocacy here going on as well. And so I thank you so much for your time and letting me share with you. And I look forward to hearing from everyone else this evening.
Oh man, thank you, Alejo, so much for sharing that. Very moving. And if anyone wants to hear more from Alejo, he's featured pretty prominently in our symposium. He will be in a panel with me tomorrow at 12:30 on community paralegals. And then he's also one of the co-anchors of our community action workshops. These are spaces that are divided up into different substantive areas, so you can really drill down into thinking through the issues of critical legal empowerment in areas of criminal injustice, civil injustice, environmental injustice, and immigration injustice. Our next community action workshop is going to be at 11 tomorrow. If you want to dig into issues around community and criminal injustice, Alejo is one of the anchors for that group as well. Again, thank you to Alejo, and now I'm going to pass it over to my co-MC, Sukti Datal.
Thank you, Tyler. And thank you, Alejo. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Arijit. It's such an honor and privilege to share space with you all. As Tyler mentioned, my name is Sukti, and I'm the director of the Bernstein Institute and such a proud co-organizer of tonight's event and our two-day conversation that will continue. And I am just so thrilled to introduce you to Lakou Mizik, live from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And I'm just going to share a little bit about the band before we turn it over to them. Lakou Mizik is a powerhouse collective of Haitian musicians united in a mission to use the healing spirit of music to communicate a message of pride and strength and hope for their country. The music merges Haitian roots music with a soulful energy and a mix of styles that feels mystical and familiar at the same time. And in the wake of Haiti's devastating earthquake, the band came together to show the world that their country was much more than the sum of the headlines that were being shot around the globe. I think that really touches very deeply with what Alejo was sharing in terms of who are we listening to? Who are we creating space to listen to? Whose stories matter? Whose stories deserve to be heard? And so without further ado, Steve and Lakou Mizik, over to you. Thank you so much. I'm wondering if maybe we should pivot to Gia while we sort out the audio issue, because it's just so essential that you all hear how gorgeous this music is. Gia is a senior manager with the Free Write Project in Prison and Justice Writing at PEN America. She's also a writer, a theater artist, a social justice warrior, and a friend that whose friendship we all value deeply. Her work has been featured on HBO's Deaf Poetry, TEDx, and at the Public Theater. Everyone out there, prepare to feel all the feels. Gia, over to you.
Thanks, friend. Hey, everybody. How's it going? So yeah, my name is Gia. I know Sukti and the Institute through the work that I did before I worked with PEN. I was an immigration attorney, and I did a lot of work with the New Sanctuary Coalition once upon a time. And represent a lot of queer folks who were seeking asylum during the Trump administration. I looked different at the time. And yeah, and so I also have, like Sukti said, I'm a writer, and I got some poems for you. So let me read you some poems about immigration lawyering in the time of Trump. Are you afraid you might be suffering from burnout? Last Wednesday, I sat in the New York asylum office for 8 hours. The framed picture of Trump hung crooked on the wall. Do you feel run down or drained of physical or emotional energy? I know there are people who feel a new kind of sick inside themselves when they see his face. This was not my first time under eyes like that. Do you have negative thoughts about your job? My client and I didn't get past the waiting room. Some problem at the main office. File never got there. I had to tell the client that it happens all the time. The last part made it worse. Are you easily irritated by small problems or by your coworkers? The client and I have a lot in common. We were both around the same age when we first felt the gaze of men who will take your stunned silence for a yes. Do you feel you have no one to talk to? It's around the same age that my kids are now. My kids don't remember a time when Trump wasn't president. Do you feel you are achieving less than you should? The client and I are going back to the asylum office next week. I can't promise the file will be there. I know for certain this again will happen to another client. I have so many clients. Do you feel you're in the wrong organization or wrong profession? The only thing my clients are ever really asking me is, am I safe? Will you take my case means, am I safe? Can I use your bathroom means, am I safe? Are you not getting what you want out of your job? Can I get an extra Metro card means, am I safe? Is what I heard on the news true means, am I safe? Do you feel there's more work to do than you practically have the ability to do? The only thing that I know for sure is that tomorrow will always be worse. Every morning a tweet or a regulation change or a story of torture waits for me as my feet touch the floor. Do you feel organizational politics or bureaucracy frustrate your ability to do your job? The rapists who run this country called me dirty. Their sons march with torches and tell me they will not stop until one of us is dead. Are you frustrated with parts of your job? I tell my clients that I can help them snatch the cheese from the trap, but not why it was set in the first place. Why they built a whole castle just so they could put us in a dungeon. Do you feel you do not have time for many of the things that are important? Last week, both my mom and my therapist told me that they were worried about me. Both said to remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Are you harder and less sympathetic with people than perhaps they deserve? I said to both, I don't think it's either. I said, I think I'm being chased. I said, I think we all are. I said, it's just a matter of how far you are from what's out to get you. Do you feel under an unpleasant level of pressure to succeed? How's it going with your sound situation here? Okay, sound is good. Okay, reboosting. So yeah, so I was an attorney for about 7 years, and I guess, goddamn, 7 years, I guess that's what it was. Before that, I taught creative writing for a long time, working mostly with young people who were incarcerated or in like a long-term foster care kind of situation. It's in the top of the chat, but I'll repost it. I currently host a creative writing workshop just for trauma workers. So it's for lawyers and social justice warrior types and activist type people, et cetera, who want to write and talk about their situation and, you know, get down with some other people who are of like mind, because it's really nice when we can all get together and talk about poems and shit. Thanks, friend. Thanks. I'm gonna read you a couple more here. I'm gonna read you two more. The last one is really sad. It's gonna be real. Last one's super depressing. So I'm gonna read a little amuse-bouche of amusement here. This is just happy and like cute and fun and like nothing bad happens in this poem. This is my pleasure activism little segue between the violence and death and destruction. This is all right. Trans men are, in fact, the best men. Baby, when I was straddling you, with my right hand over your scar and your left on my tit, I swear I could feel every fiber of your tender heart, and at the same time, the electric lick of my fingertips against every strand of mine. But that is another poem. Of all the things that I have adored as you have put them inside me, I'd like to take this moment to focus on the smell of your sweat. It's like a lavender-scented candle had a baby with a fresh pack of cigarettes. But the baby was actually some, oh God, do you have the music back on? Should I stop, y'all? There's so much happening.
No, I think you should keep going.
Okay. A lot happening in the chat. just a simple girl trying to read a love poem about trans guys. There's crazy things happening. All right. Anyway, it's like a lavender scented candle had a baby with a fresh pack of cigarettes, but the baby was actually a really hot guy. When you were on top of me and I was burying my face in the gorgeous meat of your shoulder, the spice of it soaked into my pores, and now I am just a quiver of quivers, aching for my bow. Darling, you made me a wreck of want. It is a work day. I am a grown-up, allegedly, and yet I am stranded on the couch, a mermaid stuck on the prairie. I can do nothing but sing you my song of clever memes in the hopes that you might crash tonight. My love, I want you like Isis did Osiris. I am never a riper woman than when I am in your arms. Your arms that I pin to the headboard with my nails of nails. Your arms that I lace mine through like bunny-eared shoestring as we saunter down the street. Your arms that have to do things right now, like work a job and help the world. So I will be your lady in waiting, a queen bee stunned. I will be here, counting the hours since we decided that for sure you need a larger bed if this is where our relationship is going. I will circle the day on the calendar when I'll be back in your home to wreck a few more things. I will wish I kept your t-shirt. I will be a lovesick Morticia longing for her moon of a man to fight the sun in her honor. I will let my tide go low as to be ready for your next swell. I will thank grace for the miles of miracles that brought our bodies together. I will think about you as I touch my face and follow the instructions in your last text last night. I will have sweet dreams. Very little happy poem, little lovey things, right? Okay, we'll read one more. Thank you all so much. The ways to get a hold of me are in the chat. I work for PEN America right now. I'm able to have the honor of giving away 75,000 copies of a book that Alejo is actually in, I believe. It's a book called The Sentences That Create Us, and it's all about how to start our writing life if you're incarcerated. Like elements of style type stuff around how to like write 5-act plays or like journalism pitches, but also really important things like how to write about your trauma and navigate the difficulties of writing about real people and all that good shit. And yeah, it's my job to give them away to incarcerated people. So if you have some people that you would like to give them to, there's the information on the thing. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll drop my contact in the chat as well. And then and if you're interested in learning more about a creative writing workshop for folks who do social justice-y type work, drop me a line. This is the thing I will read to you, and then I will vanish into a cloud of Zoom smoke. But thank you all so much. Thank you for everything that you do in the world. Thanks for hanging out. Okay. The first time children threw garbage at me. I was actually quite lucky. Of all of the items on the Taco Bell menu to splat at my feet on the sidewalk, the football-sized plastic cup with its ice cubes that scattered in a loose V formation of translucent teeth is actually what I would choose, given the options. Oh, given options, how you make a fork of everything. There is so much that can happen in the less than 5 minutes before your lift arrives. Sometimes it's good to stop for a moment and thank the tree lurching over the community garden's wrought iron fence that provides this pleasant umbrella from the drizzle. Sometimes you gotta stop, take off your headphones, and listen to the children laugh at you as they run away. I would say that I knew the risks as much as anyone on the other side of the river can. I got called a faggot long before I ever even did fag shit. I learned quick how to undercover cop my life, how to adjust the pitch of my presentation in order to collect the evidence I needed, how to safely get through the crime scene. There are times I wish I could have stayed there, in the land of, oh, his pronouns are they, them, in the land of my queerness being plausibly deniable. But the thing about lying just a little with every breath is that you can't trust anyone who inhales around you. I was in a film noir of my own making, and the credits never rolled. And then there was that day spent crying on the hardwood floor that smelled like pine, where my fearless moral gender inventory asked so plainly, would I be happier if I were a girl? And the yes I replied slid over my face like a coffin lid. I had to accept this was the answer to so much of the deep haunt of wrongness in my bones over the last 40 years. I had to accept that I was born dead. If I am blessed to live another 40, it will be in the service to the grace that opened the tomb hole in my chest and lifted me up to ask for help. The grace that transmogrifies the estrogen from under my tongue and sends it out my joyous tears in morning prayer. The grace that filled me with nothing but a mother's disappointment in the kids the same age as my own, who were just following the orders the world has given them. The grace that looked back at me from the puddle at my feet and said, "You are not the broken cup. You are the tree that grew over the fence. You make a shelter." Grace said, "It's okay, girl. Someone's coming to get you. You have a place to go. You are bigger than this moment. The shame running down your face belongs to the weather, not to you. However, you would do well to remember, this will not be the last of the storms." Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Gia. Oh, I told you all it was going to be a lot of feels. It's profoundly beautiful and moving. Thank you so much, Gia, for bringing us into your world and reminding us that a lot of it is the weather. So thank you. And I think that we are ready to make our journey back to Port-au-Prince. So Scott, Steve, and Lakou Mizik, are we ready to roll?
Azukeke, parele machado suyo, azukeke. Azukeke, vodule machado suyo, azukeke. Azukeke, parele machado suyo, azukeke. Lakou Mizik machado suyo, azukeke. Lakou Mizik machado suyo, azukeke. Azukeke, 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 parele machado suyo, azukeke, azukeke, vodule machado suyo, azukeke, azukeke, Azuke,
Paelek Baba Shado Suyo,
Azuke,
Paelek Baba Shado Suyo,
Azuke, Paelek Baba Shado Suyo, Azuke,
Lakou Mizik Shado Suyo,
Azuke, Lakou Mizik Shado Suyo, Azuke,
Lakou Mizik Shado Suyo,
Azuke, Lakou Mizik Shado Suyo, Azuke,
Paelek Baba Shado Suyo,
Azuke,
Odulek Baba Shado Suyo,
Azuke,
Paelek Baba Shado Suyo,
Azuke. Thank you very much. This is Lakou Mizik from Haiti, and you're very happy to be here. Thank you for FYU to have us being part of that event, man. Même moi soleil la levé, en battant l'homme chaud coup d'y fait oui. Dans yon désert m'habité, même ça m'planté yo pas poussé. Mais kounye ya m'entravé, la pluie pral tomber tant paré oui. Au vent venté qu'a écrasé, c'est tout peuple là qui sinistré. Yon dal nouvelle m'attendait, yo di m'fait planète sa rive. Cause sa baille qu'est cassé, sa cause mon ange moins chaviré. Jouna cassé chaîne qui cause n'oublier, que moi-même avec ses familles nouillées. Jou a passé prendre ma passé chercher. Jouna bat un bon jour pas jour cassé. Jouna cherché côte non prit nous terré. Jouna réuni force qui te bonne liberté. Songez pour qui s'en remettre la coulée. Laisse à comprendre qui force que nous Nous haïtiens, n'est pas un nous haïtiens. Haïtien nous yé, nek nago nous yé, haïtien nous yé, haïtien, nati Congo, haïtien nous yé. Moi tant de voix yo k'ap chanter, moi ouais chovin yo qui d'lo nager. Moi tant de nam yo qui révolte, le cri nager yo liberté. Moi tant de voix yo k'ap chanter, moi ouais chovi yo qui d'lo nager. Moi tant de nam yo qui révolte, le cri nager yo. Manche piquois, de rapide, couteau zigo, on nous rassembler, c'est les accrivés, Kembe kako, monte canson, ma coute nando, soleil la couché, combite la lagueo, de rapide, couteau zigo, on nous rassembler, c'est les accrivés, Kembe kako, monte canson, ma coute nando, soleil la couché, combite la lagueo. Moi tant de voix yo k'ap chanter, moi ouais chopin yo qui d'lo nager. Moi tant de nam yo qui révolte, le cri nager yo liberté. Moi tant de voix yo k'ap chanter, moi ouais chopin yo d'lo nager. Moi tant de nam yo qui révolte, le cri nager yo. Manche piquois, de rapide, couteau zigo, on nous rassembler, c'est les accrivés, Kembe kako, monte canson, ma coute nando, soleil la couché, combite la lagueo, de rapide, couteau zigo, on nous rassembler, c'est les arrivés, oh. Kembe kako, monte canson, ma goutte d'eau. Soleil la couché, comme il la lagué, oh. Pas qu'à compter combien misère nous passé et nous qu'on en est à remettre là exister. Depuis tête pas coupé, chapeau l'espérer mettre. Haïtien campé, comment ça presque arrivé. C'est presque arrivé. Comment ça presque arrivé. Presque arrivé. Dis quoi, c'est rapide, pour Totigo, on nous rassembler, c'est les arrivés, oh, y'en a qu'à quoi, où c'est comme ça, ma coupe d'eau, soleil la couché, comme il t'a un dimanche, dis quoi, c'est rapide, pour Totigo, on nous rassembler, c'est les arrivés, oh, y'en a qu'à quoi, où c'est comme ça, ma coupe d'eau, soleil la couché, comme il t'a oh. Aí, bobo! Tip dans problème moi, contribuer dans souffrance moi, l'argent a tip dans misère moi, pitié, l'argent a tip dans problème moi, contribuer dans souffrance moi, l'argent humilier problème moi yo. Haïti gagne pour changer ah well, pays ça gagne pour avancer ah well, Haïti gagne pour marcher ah well, ouais dit lever mais on dit oui. Haïti gagne pour avancer ah well, pays ça gagne pour marcher ah well, Haïti gagne pour avancer ah well, ouais dit lever mais on dit oui. Banana basika, banana mobeta, muno basacho tune na po. Banana basika, banana mobeta, muno basacho tune ito. Banana basika, banana mobeta, muno basacho tune ito. Muno basacho tune na po. Unyo pekat yo tu merito. Unyo pekat yo tu merito. Conscience, c'est ça nous voulons camper. On s'en la cour avant de pour changer. voulez pour nous parler plus loin. Conscience dit c'est oh 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 oh. Lakou dit oh 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 oh. Conscience dit oh 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 oh. Conscience dit c'est oh 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 oh. Conscience. Pour ça nous voulons, c'est ça nous voulons crier. C'est ça nous voulons pour pays nous avancer. Pour ça nous voulons pour nous capables d'avancer. Pour ça nous voulons pour nous capables de progresser. Tout le monde dit oh 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 oh. C'est once again, this is Lakou Mizik straight from Haiti, and we're gonna bring you some vibe and some soul, some light straight from Haiti. And this song, we're gonna go like this.
Mes amis parlent la parler de ma foi. Bodouléo, yo dou pa gen rival tande, wayo. Yo dou pa gen rival men Bodouléo. Mes amis parlent la parler dans pays ya. Bodouléo, yo dou pa gen rival tande, wayo. Yo dou pa gen rival men Bodouléo. Mes amis parlent la parler dans pays ya.
Bodouléo, yo dou pa gen rival tande, wayo.
Yo dou pa gen rival men Bodouléo. Mes amis parlent la parler dans pays ya.
Bodouléo, yo dou pa gen rival tande, wayo.
Yo dou pa gen rival Bodouléo.
Wayo.
Yo dou pa gen rival tande,
Wayo.
yo dou pa gen rival.
Wayo.
Yo dou pa gen rival tande,
Wayo.
yo dou pa gen rival Bodouléo.
Wayo.
Yo dou pa gen rival men Bodouléo. Mes amis parlent la parler dans pays ya.
Bodouléo, yo dou pa gen rival tande, wayo.
Yo dou pa gen rival men Bodouléo. Mes amis parlent la parler dans pays ya.
Bodouléo,
Yo dou pa gen rival tande, wayo. Dou pa gen rival tande,
wayo.
yo dou pa gen rival Bodouléo.
Wayo.
Yo dou pa gen rival tande,
Wayo.
dou pa gen rival Bodouléo. Bodouléo. Les amis parlent la parler dans pays ya.
Bodouléo.
Yo dou pa gen rival tande, wayo. Yo dou pa gen rival men Bodouléo. Mes amis parlent la parler dans pays ya.
Bodouléo, yo dou pa gen rival tande,
wayo. Yo dou pa gen rival Bodouléo.
wayo.
Yo dou pa gen rival Bodouléo.
Wayo.
Yo dou pa gen rival Bodouléo.
Wayo. Wayo. On the back we have Dave on the drum, and we have percussion in the corner. We have Peterson alias Tivity. And the second conga we have James, and then percussion in conga. And the master drum we have Zaulut Zao Bimbayaya, first conga and lead singer. And me, myself, Steve Valcourt, guitar player, lead singer, and maestro of Lakou Mizik. We are very happy to be with you today. Thank you very much, NYU. Thank you very much. This is Lakou Mizik, straight from Haiti. We love you a lot. Lakou Mizik.
Woo! Thank you. That was. I wish. Please take a bow. That was incredible. We felt so much love and energy and soul. Oh, that was gorgeous. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.
I realized, Tyler, that I think you were supposed to say the thank you. So here we are.
No, just a big thank you to Lakou Mizik, also Alejo Rodriguez and Gia-Kagan Trenchard. Just thank you for sharing this space with us, for really getting us off on this journey of the symposium in a way that I think could make a lot of lawyers and law students sort of a little uncomfortable and interrogating what does this mean for legal knowledge and knowledge of, but really helping us understand that knowledge of the people is necessary for things like justice and for moving forward. So thank you again to all of our performers, and Sukti, I'll turn it over to you for the last word of the night to forecast everything coming down for the rest of the week.
Great. I just want to keep clapping and saying, woohoo! Merci, Lakou. Thank you.
Merci. We are very, very happy.
We say in our language, dhanyabad. So dhanyabad for being with us.
And that would be which language?
In Nepali.
Nepali.
Yeah.
Are you say it again? Can I hear it?
Yeah, dhanyabad.
Dhanyabad.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Dhanyabad to all of you, dhanyabad to Gia and to Alejo and to all of our friends who are, we have friends from Cambodia and Argentina, and it really shows you the power of the collective and the power of community. And so we cannot wait to start the symposium. We'll be meeting again at 9:15 tomorrow morning. And it's going to be a really fabulous 2 days of introspection, reflection, creativity, imagination, and really thinking about what does it mean to transfer power and to uplift power of those who are closest to the injustice and the closest to the vision of what our future should look like. So on that note, please do join us tomorrow at 9:15. We'll have 3 sessions tomorrow and a community action workshop. And then on Friday, we'll be closing with another series of sessions. The information is in the chat, and join us. We are excited for this conversation to continue. And once again, thank you all so much. And thanks so much to our performers You make the world run, and we are grateful for all you do. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Have a
Thank you
wonderful
very much.
night.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.